Morning, morning. How's everybody doing? Yeah, too big a hole too early for Arizona State. They're not good.
No, and I think there's one play tonight, and I hate it.
Really?
St. John's at DePaul.
How many are we getting?
Not enough.
So single digits?
No, I think it's low double.
Sometimes St. John's can't score.
That's true. $12 and a half.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this hump day. Let's get over it together. Hope your week is going well to this point. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Thanks so much for being with us. Another show, the last one for a while, although it's a possibility we have another show or two in a couple of weeks, depending on how the ASUN playoffs fall. But another show where Miller and Moulton are in the same studio together.
See you in August.
Could be.
I am hoping that I see you in August. I think this could be the last time we see one another doing a show.
Let me tell you, you have worked some people up into a frenzy.
That's exactly the point.
Well, no, I think actually,
I look at the books every day and freak out. Every day.
Well, I have to admit, we've never had more money in the bank.
Right, and we don't have enough sponsors to pay the bills.
Well, that's not true at all. That's not true at all.
Okay.
All right. And if so, we'll get it straightened out. But man, I just, a lot of people, you're working folks up.
21,000 sponsors.
Well, I don't know that you're working those folks up, but man, I was inundated last night.
I could not be more serious.
No, trust me, everybody knows you're serious. You've got them concerned.
I'm concerned.
Trust
me, I'm concerned more than they are.
Well, I got to admit, we're looking at the same stat sheet and seeing different things, but that's not the first time. So, all right, we'll get it worked out. But man, people coming up to me last night at the game, they weren't interested in seeing me, talking to me. They're just, talking about the show. Mark, you had them all riled up.
It's the intention.
I got it. I got it. But I will say it was, and I hope this doesn't bore too many people, particularly outside the 239. But I mean, obviously by now, if you listen to the show and outside the 239, you know that for a long time, all right, the two of us lived in Southwest Florida together. I moved to Jacksonville 2.5 years ago. Family situation, had to go. And so obviously we've continued doing the show. But last year, I was also doing road Jacksonville men's basketball games on the radio. And so they came to the 239 to face FGCU, which they do every year. It was a really bad experience for me. All right. First off, the phone line, internet connection, whatever, it didn't work. Okay.
You had a bad broadcast, not of your own doing.
Correct. Got disconnected 4 different times. And the people at FGCU, quite frankly, didn't give a damn. And it's their responsibility. And there wasn't this, there weren't a whole lot of people that were, I did 20 years there and nobody cared. It was not a good welcoming night back in the 239. And I happen to think very positively about Southwest Florida. I've never lived in one place longer than Southwest Florida.
Right. You and I both.
And so it was very different last night, though. All right. For whatever reason, a lot of people that, were interested in, coming on down and saying hi. The equipment worked. All right. There were people at FGCU that I actually recognized. And it's very strange because last year I hardly recognized anybody. So the whole night last night had a very different feel. I mean, it was the same old FGCU beats Jacksonville, and they did 7 in a row, 15 of 16. All right. But I have to admit, it was a much more enjoyable night for me. It was like, wow, okay, this road trip was worth it.
All right, no signs like welcome back, David.
A sign? I don't know. It was the last time there was a sign in that arena.
We missed you.
It was nice. Last night actually felt like I had done 3 or 4 games there. All right. And and a few people remembered that I did 3 or 4 games there.
Good. I'm glad you had a nice homecoming.
So in that sense, and you know what, Mark, maybe the difference was last year before the game, I didn't have a nap. This year, snuck in a 45-minute nap.
And you were worried you weren't going to get that nap.
I was very worried. Okay. I had a late afternoon appointment for taxes. And yes, I was very worried I was not going to be able to say the game started a half hour earlier than I'm used to at 6:30. Yeah, it was very concerned I was not going to be able to get in the nap. Got in at just 4 o'clock, turned the temperature down in the hotel room to like 64. All right, just let it rip for 45 minutes. It was fantastic.
Good for you. Glad you got that in. I knew you had a busy day, and the 6:30 tip did put a direct hampering on that possibility of a nap. So it's important that you got it in.
So there you go. So I'm in, relatively good spirits today. Got to head back to the 904 after the show, but at least I'll leave going, okay, this was fun. This was good. Enjoyable. Saw a few people, said hi, okay, good deal.
Good for you. Glad it worked out. I had a bunch of stuff to do yesterday in the evening, so I had actually planned on texting you and saying, how can I stream your broadcast? And then I got caught up doing other things and, quite frankly, listened to Michigan State and Purdue in the car instead of Jacksonville at FGCU.
And I understand that. All right. And big win for Sparty.
It was.
They're playing for seeding at this point, and I don't mean the Big Ten tournament. I think at this point, they're battling. What do you think's the highest seed Michigan State can get? A 3?
A 3.
They were in line for a 2 a couple of weeks ago until they went out west. let me tell you, these conferences, it's why we were talking college football yesterday. I really want the SEC and the ACC to go from 8 to 9 games. When you play a conference game in any sport, any damn thing can happen. All right. UCLA has been pounding Big Ten teams at Pauley Pavilion. Minnesota goes to UCLA last night and beats them late. Minnesota. Not a good Minnesota team either. Not a tournament Minnesota team. Right. And UCLA, which had worked their way, onto the bubble, just made probably in heading into last night.
Well, and when you look at football, David, obviously you'll see it more because when you look at Florida last year, who was able to pull off a couple of upset victories that turned the tables on the SEC and the national championship playoff race, Florida was still a competitive football team that looked down. Oklahoma was not a good football team last year, but they managed to beat Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And when you add that 9th game in and you put the injury factor and the wear and tear on the body and you add all of those things together, it does not make it a guarantee for the good teams the way it does when they're playing Mercer in late November.
So, and we'll talk about this some more during the show. So there's another component to the whole college football 14 or 16 team playoff. Apparently, the SEC and the Big Ten are both thinking about turning their conference championship game into 2 games. And if they can get 4 teams automatically in, guaranteed 4 teams in. What both conferences are thinking of doing, Mark, is top 2 teams in the SEC and Big Ten, instead of meeting in the conference championship game, they're in. They're done. And instead of having 1 game on that first Saturday in December, SEC's game's at 4:00 and the Big Ten game is at 8. What both conferences are thinking of doing is having a play-in where the 3rd place team plays the 6th place team and the 4th place team plays the 5th place team, and the 2 winners are automatically in the playoffs.
I'm sorry. Who wants to watch that?
Well, it is a play-in game. And
I understand.
And
that.
it's a guaranteed play-in game. Win and you're in.
No. I get it.
Right.
I get it. I really do. But we know why they have these conference championship games. The only reason they are still going on is it's a huge cash grab for the conferences because the networks have ponied up huge money to carry these games. If I'm the networks, I say I'm not interested.
Oh, if you're the networks, you say you're very interested. You're going to give me 2 games with real meaning, 2 play-in games, as opposed to what may be happening to these conference championship games. First off, the top 2 teams in the conference don't want to play in them. A, you can get somebody hurt. B, you can hurt your seeding.
So 3-6-4-5, is that what you're suggesting?
Correct. And
so
then
Indiana versus Iowa and Ohio State versus Illinois would have been the games last year.
Ohio State, Illinois was the 4-5, correct?
Yeah.
Right. And Indiana, Iowa would have been the 3-6.
8-5 Iowa team.
Yep.
Oh,
I know.
Can't wait for that.
I know. I will say that's now in the SEC. Okay. Don't know where that came from.
Yes, Sean McDonough.
SEC. So Georgia, Texas were 1-2. Tennessee 3.
Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama, LSU.
Where's Ole Miss?
Well, here's the problem, David. Alabama, LSU, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Missouri were all 5-3.
So what do you have, 6-7-way tie there?
Yeah.
So somehow, some way, the conference needs to have their own internal tiebreaker to match up 3, 6, 4, 5.
Correct.
I wonder if you just go ranking. Probably not.
They probably would.
Yeah, well,
because that's your best chance to get teams in.
Right. So, but and maybe it's a poll question.
Maybe.
That's what the conferences are thinking of. Trying to create, yes, more revenue. B, also, though, more games of consequence. Mark, remember, what is all of this?
It's a television show. But this sounds like something that should be on True TV.
This should be in Dayton on a Tuesday, Wednesday night. Is that what you're saying? The starting 5 is 25 minutes away, Miller and Moulton.
A showdown in the swamp. The final race. Everything's on the line at record-breaking speeds. Don't miss Swamp Buggy Racing's World Championship. The 35th Bud Cup Finals, Sunday, March 2nd at Florida Sports Park, Naples. Get tickets at swampbuggy.com. Florida's oldest racing tradition is serious competition like you've never seen before in 6 categories. But Swamp Buggy Racing is always a great day of family fun with kid-friendly pricing. Sunday, March 2nd. Don't miss the World Championship. Get tickets at swampbuggy.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
A weekend move. Where are you going? It'll be 12 years. 12 years.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be able to see Chris today.
They working?
Yeah, they worked yesterday.
Okay.
I can tell the room was changed around.
Gotcha.
It's the only reason I know is when he leaves his headsets plugged in now. So I have to unplug him and move him over there every day. One of these days, I might move him out of the room.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. So we'll get back to that college football thing. I promise. So this is for you, Mark.
Okay.
This has been something that you have championed for a long time. Something along these lines. I don't know if it was this, but something along these lines. So spring training games are going to start, I believe, next week. I don't think they start this week. I think they start next week. So in spring training in both Florida and Arizona, they're going to be using this ABS system. And what the system is it's a challenge system. So you'll have the umpire. The umpire will call balls and strikes. And then pitchers or hitters can initiate a challenge. The batter, the catcher, or the pitcher are the only three people that can initiate the challenge. Can't come from the dugout. Pitcher, catcher, batter. Has to be done immediately. So 1-1 pitch, called a strike on the corner. Hitter has to turn to the umpire and tap his helmet.
So unlike football, where coaches wait to throw the challenge flag until they get basically instruction from the booth that it's the right thing to do. They wait and wait and wait as long as they can, particularly when they're on offense. Defense a little different because the other team's trying to get a play started, but this is very much the opposite of that. They can't wait. The pitcher can't be looking up to a coach upstairs somewhere waiting for replay assist, if you will.
Pitcher, catcher, batter. Dugout, people upstairs in the booth, no involvement in this whatsoever. Pitcher, catcher, batter. Has to be done instantly. Pitcher throws a pitch on the corner for a strike. It's called the ball. He points in at the umpire and goes, no, we're challenging that. You only get 2 challenges a game. However, if your challenge is successful, then you keep it. So you may only get 2 challenges a game, but hell, you could challenge 8 calls if you're right on 6 of them.
Okay, help me out here. You get 2 challenges a game, period?
But if your challenge is successful, then the number's still 2.
Right, but if I'm a batter and I go up and challenge the pitch and I was wrong, my pitcher then loses a challenge on the other side. You get 2 as a team for the game.
Correct.
Just trying to make sure we've got this right.
Each team gets 2 challenges a game. So they did this in the minor leagues last year. They are going to do it for the full season in AAA this year. And they're going to compile the data, see how it works. And, Rob Manfred wants this in Major League Baseball next year. So far in the minors, when they've done it, they've averaged just under 4 challenges a game. Now that's total.
Right. Right. Each team gets 2. So most teams are using theirs. You've already said if you get it right, you get another. But basically, both teams are using their 2 challenges every game.
Calls were overturned at basically a 50% clip. Each challenge takes on average of 17 seconds. The one concern that Manfred has is, he's big on speeding up the game. So if you have on average of 4 challenges at 17 seconds, this challenge system is adding, so far in the minors, they say 1 minute and 8 seconds per game.
That seems like they could get that number down. I'm just thinking in my head of a tennis challenge, and that's similar to what this is. It doesn't seem that a tennis challenge takes 17 seconds. It seems that it's a little more timely than that, but I don't have the data in front of me to prove it one way or another. I'm just taken by the naked eye. It seems that they get that done a little more quickly.
The results of the challenge will be displayed on the scoreboard and also will be shown on the television broadcasts so that everybody gets to see for themselves. Okay, there will be transparency. There will be open communication, if you will, about whether or not a call was overturned or not. There are 5 stadiums in Arizona in which 2 teams hold their spring games, dual usage, if you will. Those 5 stadiums in Arizona will all have the ABS system. 8 of the stadiums in Florida will have the system. Unfortunately, for most of our listening audience, they will not have the system where you reside. It's not in Fort Myers with the Red Sox or Twins. It's not in Port Charlotte with the Rays. In fact, it's not even in Sarasota with the Orioles. All right. Toronto, Detroit, the Yankees, the Pirates, the Phillies, the Mets, and then the Cardinals and Marlins share a stadium. So I guess the closest to the guts of our listening audience in Lee, Collier, and Charlotte counties, all right, the closest one would be the Pirates in Bradenton. Don't know how many of you travel, Mark, we got a lot of Michiganders. I don't know how many people are going to go to Lakeland to see a spring training game.
No, I have a quick question for you, David. It's kind of on subject, and I'll get there in a second. How big in billions of dollars is the Major League Baseball industry now?
Major League Baseball is around $12 billion.
$12 billion, huh?
Yeah.
These ABS systems must be really expensive. They've had the entire effing off season to get this installed in all the spring trainings, and they've decided we only want to do it in 75% of them.
Well, I will say, I mean, it's 8 of the 14 teams that are in, or 9 of them, because you got a dual usage with the Cardinals and Marlins. So like 60% of Florida spring training is going to have the system, and a little more than that in Arizona, because you got 10 teams out of 15 or 16 that are there. So yeah, it's a little under 2/3 though. It is. It's in the 60 to 63%.
Seems like they could have got it everywhere. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want these teams, when it's implemented, to have an idea of how they're going to do it.
Now, Major League Baseball is encouraging in spring training. They want people challenging. Okay, they just do it. Just do it, because they want the system to be used.
Right. No, I got you. But like the Twins and Red Sox play most of their games against the Twins, the Red Sox, and the Rays. I mean, some teams aren't going to have the opportunities to see the system work as much as others. That doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, I'm with you. I would like to think that all, but it's a month. It's a one-shot deal. I have no idea if this is Major League Baseball picking up the tab, or if the onus is on every team, or quite frankly, is it on the landlord? Like, is it on Lee County or Charlotte County? I mean, I don't know who paid for these systems. I would like to think it's Major League Baseball.
Me too.
But that's what the story says. So 8 of the ballparks in Florida and 5 in Arizona, but 2 teams play games in all 5 of those ballparks, so you're servicing 10 teams. So an ABS system challenge, pitcher, catcher, batter, each team gets 2 challenges. Unless you're successful, then it's as if the challenge never happened. Kind of like in tennis, you get 3 per set. You challenge it and you're right, you still got 3 in that set.
It's a start to me.
It's not the automatic, basically, beep, beep, which I think you want.
I do.
You want?
I want all of the calls to be right. I don't want 50% of the challenges to be upheld. I just want to get the call right. But I believe this is a good start, David.
So, home plate. You think an umpire gets about 85% of the calls right?
Probably a little more than that.
Okay. So now think about this. Let's just say it's like 88%. Average Major League umpire gets 88% of the balls and strikes correct. So then of the 12%, all right, half of those will be corrected.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or nolanagency.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Is snoring bothering your spouse? Would you like to sleep in the same bed again? Do you know that snoring can affect your sleep cycle and cause lower testosterone levels? At Sleep Treatment Direct, we have easy solutions. We have a simple laser procedure that can improve snoring in 10 minutes. If you would like to get back in the same bed or are looking for a natural way to treat low testosterone, give us a call at 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Or go to sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You already out of the hotel and everything? You just boogie in right after the show?
Yeah. Supposed to be driving into bad weather.
What?
Up by Jacksonville.
Okay.
I think I'll go like 3-4 hours, but then the last hour and a half I think is bad weather.
I got a tea time today. Don't start talking like that.
Oh no, your guys' weather. Oh no, I miss it. I definitely miss it. 300 miles north. There's a lot of systems that settle around the villages, in between I-4 and the villages. Never make it here. Well, I think I told you Monday morning before I got in the car and drove down. We're doing the show, and right at the start of the show, I always, just for you know what and giggles, just take a look. 41 in Jacksonville, 60 in Fort Myers. -7-degree difference right now, but it's raining in Jacks. Empire, I wish I could. I wish I could. Listen, in the upper Midwest, Red River Valley, it's been 10, 20 below zero temperatures. And I remember those days. 44 below temperature, 81 below wind chill. Coldest temperature that I remember when I lived in Fargo. We wouldn't do it all the time, but the weather guys and gals would break out the old cup of water, walk outside and on live TV, throw the water in the air, and you'd watch it crystallize. Ah, those wild and wacky local weather people. Thank you, and hello again, everybody.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Thanks so much for being with us. You know, you and I do have to put our heads together on a poll question.
We do.
Swamp Buggy Races poll question. Final Swamp Buggy race of the season is coming up a week from Sunday, March 2nd. Go to swampbuggy.com, but we'll put our heads together about that. How'd the wine thing end up yesterday?
It's a great question, David.
It seemed as if red wine was going to win as opposed to I don't drink wine.
Red wine did win. Yesterday was National Drink Wine Day. My wife accomplished that. She had some red wine herself. 48.5% of you are red wine drinkers. 38% of you are no wine, and the rest of you are white wine drinkers.
Is there a stereotype to a white wine? I mean, that's a big disparity. I mean, there's red and white, correct? I mean, I'm not missing anything here, right?
I mean, you got the rosé in there, but
okay.
It's red and white
I mean,
pretty much for the most part.
Rosé falls under the red umbrella, doesn't it?
I mean, it's rosé. It's kind of a, tweener.
Is that them's fighting words?
No, not fighting words. I wouldn't call a rosé a red wine, though.
Okay.
It's a rosé.
So it's like, Coke, Pepsi, 7-Up. Is that what you're saying? Rosé,
I would say
7-Up?
Coke, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper.
Oh, okay. Ooh. Always found Dr. Pepper intriguing.
My wife has been on a Dr. Pepper kick, and she's moved to Diet Dr. Pepper. And I have had a couple of Diet Dr. Peppers, and they're delicious.
Really?
Yes.
That's funny. I don't find that to be a good diet soda. That's interesting. I'm very intrigued by that. Though I will say,
if I would have known, I would have brought you one this morning.
I will say, all right, it is one of the benefits. One of the first things I noticed, besides the fact that they call soda in the upper Midwest pop, all right, when, there wasn't a ton of Dr. Pepper in the upper Midwest.
No.
You moved south.
In fact, you might be more likely to run into a Mr. Pibb.
Totally.
Up north than you would a Dr. Pepper.
But you moved south, baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe I have to give it up. Dr. Pepper has had more of the creative ads over the years, going back to Wouldn't You Want to Be a Pepper Too from the 70s, 80s up through. I think their college football ads are funny. I think they do a great job with their marketing.
I agree. Now I want one. Where's the damn soda machine when you need one?
I bet you the soda machine doesn't even have a Dr. Pepper.
I have to admit, I've never trusted the food or drink that was in the vending machines in this building.
David, this is the filthiest place I've ever worked.
I always felt like whatever was in those vending machines was installed during the Reagan administration.
I've never worked in a dirtier place.
All right. Before we get in trouble, 19 before the top of the hour. Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is The Starting Five.
I will say you are letting it rip this morning. All right. I am not going to ask you if my butt looks fat in these jeans. I'm just telling you that right now. And your wife shouldn't either. I don't think it's safe. You may need a nap or a Snickers, one or the other. Hey, we talk about there aren't enough quarterbacks out there.
No, there are not.
That's just for starters. Are there enough good backup quarterbacks?
No, not even close.
So with that in mind, how about Carolina signing 37-year-old Andy Dalton to a 2-year deal, $6 million guaranteed, could make as much as 10, likely will make $8 million over 2 years. I think that's
a solid backup, David.
Totally.
I really do.
Totally. As I mentioned, Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, now 37 years old. David Shaw hasn't been a coach for 3 years since resigning from Stanford in 2022. David Shaw joining Dan Campbell's staff in Detroit. The 52-year-old will be the passing game coordinator under new offensive coordinator Johnny Moulton. The Lions coaching staff has been absolutely riddled with the OC and the DC from last year's team getting head coaching jobs in Chicago and with the Jets. And Dan Campbell being very magnanimous, allowing guys to, hey, if there's a promotion in line for you, you want to go. So
can I go backwards just quickly? Because I wanted to pull this up when we were doing the Andy Dalton talk.
Sure.
Do you want to take a guess at career earnings for Andy Dalton?
Ooh.
Prior to this year, prior to this contract.
Okay. So he was a second-round pick. He became the starter when they got rid of Palmer. He got one big contract with the Bengals at the minimum. And I think that was before they $110 million.
Holy crap, you won both showcases.
Really?
$110,627,794. Wow. Wow.
That is pretty good. I may just
wow.
I never
This show's over. We're done. We're just going to replay this hour 3 more times. We can't do better than that.
Listen, I don't buy scratchers. I may have to buy one on my way out of town. Damn. That's pretty good. By the way, not bad.
Holy crap.
That is ridiculous. Not bad for a second-round pick.
No.
Who,
Not Kirk Cousins money, but.
Well, no. Sam Bradford, Kirk Cousins, they're in their own league. But Andy Dalton, he ain't on the Mount Rushmore. But, he gets to, be a tourist that people recognize. Absolutely. The Commanders have hired Jesse Madden to be part of their quality control staff. If the last name sounds familiar, yes. The grandson of the late John Madden, who just spent 5 years playing at Michigan. So he begins his coaching career with Dan Quinn and the Commanders. Baseball news. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. gave the Blue Jays until the start of spring training to work out a long-term contract extension. They didn't, so Vladdy says, I'm going to be a free agent. I got to be honest. I have no problem if you put the deadline as opening day, but to put it for when everybody reports in spring training on February 17th or 18th, it's like, come on, dude. Okay, the baseball off season is very short. It really is. It's scrunched together. Really, you're going to be so distracted if we and your agent are negotiating a deal during spring training. I get it. If once the season starts, I don't want to be distracted. I totally get that. But, I would say to him, come on, dude, really? February 18th? Are you kidding? We can't go to March 18th? How distracted? What? When you're doing calisthenics and stretching?
When you're running the outfield while the game is going on?
Come on. I don't like it when players do that. So, Vladdy Jr. is 25 years old. So he's going to hit the free agent market at 26. Last year, he had 323 with 30 homers and 103 RBIs.
And, David, I get your point, but at the same time, he put a deadline in. They had plenty of time to try to negotiate and get this guy what he wanted. They didn't.
I did love. So the media asked the Blue Jays, and they're like, man, we offered him a record-breaking deal, never offered anybody more money. All right, we threw everything at him. And, I guess we'll hope to still try to get something done at some point. Yes, Vladdy Jr. So were you guys close? No. Blue Jays made it sound like they offered a third of Canada, and Vladdy's like, I don't know what world they're living in, but, I told them what I wanted, and they didn't come close. As we mentioned last segment, Major League Baseball going to try the ABS challenge system for balls and strikes. So there will be umpires, and then pitcher, catcher, or batter can immediately challenge the ball strike call. Each team gets 2 challenges a game. If it's a successful challenge, then you keep it. You still have 2. 13 spring training sites will have the ABS system. Based on the stories I've read, they will not be in Southwest Florida or in Port Charlotte. AAA baseball will use the ABS system for all of 2025. Rob Manfred is hoping to have it in the major leagues next year. And this story broke during our bonus hour yesterday, but Joe Buck will return to broadcast a Major League Baseball game. He hasn't done, although he did a local Cubs-Cardinals game for St. Louis TV, but he has not done a game nationally since the 2021 World Series because he left Fox to go to ESPN. And Joe made sure to say, listen, this is just a one-off. I'm not taking anybody's job, but it'll be fun. And he's doing opening day at Yankee Stadium, Brewers and Yankees. And we can already start to complain right now. What do you think the odds are that the game gets postponed by weather? You know, the Bronx on March 27th. Milwaukee has a dome, you know. They have a retractable roof. You could have had the game in Milwaukee. I'm pretty sure the game's in New York. Right, on March 27th. $12 billion industry. They're morons sometimes. Morons. College hoops last night. Gators looked every bit the number 2 team in the country. I asked folks who watched the game, does Oklahoma look like a tournament team to you? Because they're on the bubble, despite being what now, 3-10 in the SEC? Gators beat them by 22, 85-63. Houston, they beat our system. They had to cover 12.5, and they beat Arizona State by 15, 80-65. A system play really worked last night, however. We had TCU at home getting 7.5 against 9th-ranked Texas Tech, and the Horned Frogs scored the final 7 points of the game to win it 69-66. Bill Self suffered his worst Big 12 loss as head coach of Kansas last night. The Jayhawks, Mark, are going to fall out of the rankings. They're ranked 23rd, and they started the week by losing at BYU by 34.
Well, they've kind of been win one, lose one, win one, lose one. They've been back and forth here for a few weeks.
But I think they just went to the state of Utah and lost back-to-back.
Wow.
And shocker of the night, Minnesota went to Pauley Pavilion and put a dent in UCLA's NCAA hopes, beating the Bruins 64-61. Had a couple of matchups of ranked teams last night. 14th-ranked Michigan State beat 13th-ranked Purdue. Sparty was home, 75-66. And Mississippi State was home, and 21st-ranked Bulldogs beat the 7th-ranked Aggies, 70-54. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah, I know. 8th-ranked Iowa State, 11th-ranked Wisconsin, 16th-ranked Marquette, all won easily. Small D1 action. FGCU beat Jacksonville for the 7th straight time, 72-56. North Florida, a winner over West Georgia by 18. Eastern Kentucky beat Lipscomb by 9. That means North Alabama is in first place in the A-Sun by a game over Eastern Kentucky and Lipscomb. Women's hoops last night. South Florida beat Charlotte. UCF lost to Kansas. FAU lost to Rice. We will head to Boston in the 8 o'clock Eastern hour, getting ready for USA Canada. We'll also talk about the Red Sox and the whole who's going to play third, not who's on first, who's on third in Boston.
And the answer is I don't know.
I think they know. Okay. I think the only one that doesn't know is Rafael Devers. I think the Red Sox know. Tim McKone will join us in a little more than an hour, and Seth Everett in an hour and a half for his weekly visit. At 8 minutes before the hour mark, that was the starting 5. 5 big stories, and taboo or not taboo, here on Miller and Moulton.
Don't know if you caught it, and we don't have a lot of time, and I wanted to get to this morning, but a social media account that if you're a Detroit sports fan, you probably followed. World of Isaac. Joe Buck, during the pandemic, when people were asking Buck to do play-by-play of all these different things, this guy begged Joe. I think he stuffed like 8 Oreo cookies in his mouth and had Joe do play-by-play of it. World of Isaac is in hospice and put a post out yesterday, probably his final post. He had suffered from cancer for a lot of years and is declining rapidly. But if you're a Detroit sports fan, he was a Sparty and he loved all the Detroit sports teams, was a funny follow, and invented the term Fatterday. He liked food as much as you and I. And he responded. I remember tweeting to him about things. He always responded. Was a genuine guy and did a really good job, was really funny. Hate to see terrible news on the World of Isaac. When we come back, David, when one of your own turns into the enemy, how do you handle it? I'll describe on the other side.
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners. Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
All right, we need a poll question.
Yeah.
We need a poll question.
Okay.
There's no day today of any sort.
Taboo or not taboo?
What do you want to save that to tomorrow? We can do it today. Boo, sing, nothing.
Yeah, we could do that tomorrow. You want to do something on the ABS system?
That's what I was thinking.
You want to do something on the college football play-in? I don't know how we'd word it, but
College football is thinking of eliminating championship games for play-in games.
the Big Ten and SEC.
The Big Ten and SEC are thinking of eliminating their championship games for play-in games.
For 2 play-in games.
Do you support that idea? Apparently, I didn't see it. I didn't watch any of it, but I don't know if you heard that Sports Center before the thing. They told Tiger he had 199 yards.
And he earned 99.
He earned 99.
And hit a perfect 99-yard sandwich.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
It is. Here's my question. He's got a caddy. He's got a teammate.
The caddy said 99. They dropped the first number. He just, it wasn't.
So he gapped out.
Yeah.
Joe Buck is a nice guy, Johnny Mac. He really is.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Let's get over it together. Hope your week is going well up until this point. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Tim McKone, 1 hour from now as we head to Boston. Couple of things to talk about there. Big hockey game tomorrow night. Who's on third for the Red Sox? Seth Everett to join us in about an hour and a half. Have we settled on a Swamp Buggy Races poll question?
We have not. We really have not. And I think we could go in a couple different directions with this whole ABS system for baseball.
Not to be confused with IBS.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Or the automatic braking system in your car.
Right.
Or we could do something with these play-in conference championship games.
If you haven't heard, there's a part 2 to what the SEC and the Big Ten want. They want 4 guaranteed teams in the playoff every year. If they get that, they then are both strongly considering changing from a conference championship game with the best team in the regular season meeting the second best team in the regular season for the conference championship. And instead, what they're thinking of doing is having two essentially conference finals where you play your way into the playoff. The third place team in the conference would play the sixth place team, and the fourth place team in the regular season would play the fifth place team. And the two winners, therefore, occupy the final two guaranteed spots in the playoff. And in theory, the losers are still alive for an at-large.
Yeah, I don't think we can call them conference finals. I think you have to call them what they are, conference play-in games. Don't give the appearance that this is a final, that this is a championship, that this is anything more than another cash grab out of these conferences. Hey, we'll give you one more game. Give us some more money.
And you said this has a very Tuesday, Wednesday NCAA tournament in Dayton True TV feel to you.
To me, it does.
The networks will love it. It's extra games that have meaning. Even if you don't like it, you will not be able to deny the fact that it's a play-in game to get in the national playoff. It essentially, what does NBC do for the NFL, Mark? What does the NFL try to do for NBC? They try to have the final game of the NFL regular season be a win and you're in, lose and you go home situation.
I got you. That, to me, is vastly different than a 3-6-4-5 matchup. And you're doing a hell of a job selling this.
Well, usually those games in the final week of the NFL season are a division game, and this will be a conference game, a matchup of conference teams. So I think that's the comparison. You know, we love the final Sunday night of the NFL regular season. That game is usually pretty damn sexy. All right. Curious now because, and we talked about this last year, like it was a very compelling game, Georgia, Texas. I don't know how much meaning it had. I mean, both teams were in. They were both in Georgia, if they had lost in overtime, they weren't going to be out of the playoff, were they?
No.
They were just going to be a different seed. So the debate is how much meaning will the Big Ten and SEC championship games have going forward? And quite frankly, what they're also hearing is teams go, I don't even know if I want to play.
David, I think that the other thing that will happen with these games is the neutral site, Atlanta and Indianapolis, goes away. To me, these have to be on campus games. And I'm not joking around when I say that.
Oh, wow.
2 neutral site games before making the playoffs? Or are you going to have a double header?
Well, that's
I'm being serious.
I am
here.
too. What I'm wondering,
you're sticking 4 games on a championship Saturday now, in addition to the Big 12 and ACC championship games, not to mention all the crap conference championship games.
Do you try to empty a stadium? Do you try to play a 1:00 game and an 8:00 game? It's one thing to empty an arena. It's another thing to empty Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Correct. I would have them on campus. That way I can assure myself that I'm going to have ticket sales for these games. I don't think, I could be dead wrong, but let's just take the, Indiana-Iowa 3-6 game.
And that's
in the Big Ten.
That's what it would have been last year. Indiana finished 3rd in the regular season standings. Iowa 6th.
Now, I think Indiana fans may have come, but they don't have a lot of football fans, period. They have a very small venue. They don't sell. It's one of the smaller Power 4 venues in all of college football.
It's around 50,000.
Right. Do you really think 6th place Iowa fans are running to Indianapolis for a 3-6 game? Because I don't.
That's interesting. But then again, in theory, how about if you just have the 2 games back to back and you only sell quarter in terms of fans? Don't you think you could get Indiana to fill a quarter of the Hoosier Dome? Don't you think you can get Iowa to fill 17,000 seats? I mean, and then the
So
stadium
then it's going to look a lot like an NCAA basketball game.
totally.
Where during the first half of the first game, there are going to be two corners that are completely vacant.
Correct.
I don't think that's a good look. College football is about the pageantry. Put it on campus, give yourself a sold-out game that looks good, and now 3 and 4 have a distinct advantage over 5 and 6.
Well, and the other thing is, let's face it, 3 and 4 in a conference are very unlikely to ever get a home game in the college football playoff.
Yes.
Now, if you're the conference, though, all that money goes to you in Indianapolis and Atlanta. I mean, and those stadiums are bigger in a lot of cases than, or not necessarily Atlanta, though. But I'm just wondering from a revenue standpoint, Mark, let's be honest, and that's part of the reason why this is being done. It's to appease television and to make more money.
But they'll make more money from the networks for the other game, in theory, not necessarily from the gate. And they would take their share of the gate wherever it may be. I think it should be on campus. That's just me.
By the way, just throwing this out there, won't this be another example of the ACC fighting for a slot? Because the two Big Ten play-in games will both be on Fox in all likelihood. I mean, there's a chance one's on CBS and one's on NBC. They have 3 TV partners, but Fox is going to want it. And Fox has most Big Ten title games. Not all, though. It's a 7-year contract. Fox gets 4 of them. CBS gets 2. NBC gets 1. So it will be interesting how that conference would actually divvy it up by TV network. But, I mean, the SEC is one network. It happens to be the same network that does the ACC. Well, I mean, so on that Saturday, championship Saturday, as we call it, you're going to have 2 play-in games for the SEC. Where's the ACC title game going to air? ESPN 2?
True TV. Let me ask you a question, David, not to get away from your network discussion, but just an actual football discussion. The Big Ten and the SEC believe that they would still have a shot at getting 5 teams in with this method.
Yeah, especially if it goes to 16 teams. Quick math, SEC, Big Ten get 4 each. ACC, Big 12 are guaranteed 2. Notre Dame could play their way in.
Well,
right,
but
and the group of
there's
5.
Group of 5. So
Right.
there's 13 committed spots.
Right. 3 wild cards.
Do you think this would negatively affect the teams that lose the Big Ten play-in game? To me, it should. I mean, if you're the 5th or 6th place team and you're losing, how could you justify getting a bid? That would be the only thing about this, is that they could actually hurt themselves for their 5th bid.
Basically, what you're saying is, would a 5th or 6th place team in those 2 conferences get wild cards? Because if you're in 5th or 6th before the play-in, are they going to put you in? If you then win the play-in and you basically move down the 3rd place team, like would Indiana have gotten a bid
over Miami
if they had lost to Iowa in a play-in situation in a 16-team playoff?
And I just say Miami because
Right.
they were the 3rd ACC team.
Here's the thing. The Big Ten and the SEC don't care. They're getting their 4. If they get 5, that's great. But they're getting 4. And that's what they want. And now they're creating more television product and they're creating more revenue. And if a 3rd or 4th place team in the regular season loses the play-in, oh well, tough luck. It's basketball season. Enjoy the CarQuest Bowl. Seriously, I don't think Petiti or Sankey would care. Now, you would think the 3rd place regular season team would still have a chance because it's the best team that lost, so to speak. But once again, first off, the SEC, it would have been jambalaya as to who actually would have played. They had, a 6-7-way tie, and
right.
We would have had to somehow figure out who the 4 teams were that were going to play in this. But let's just say you pick by ranking, the 3rd place team was Tennessee. If Tennessee had lost a play-in game to Ole Miss, and we had a 16-team playoff. Do you think Tennessee still gets one of those bids?
I do, but I think it's the fourth place team that could lose to the fifth place team and not get a bid. David.
Agree totally, and I think both conferences could care less about that fourth place team. They're creating TV product, and they're getting 4 teams in.
And you think the networks would be all over these play-in games?
Games with consequences? Games with meaning? I mean, Mark, aren't they essentially the equivalent of the first round playoff games? I mean, doesn't an SEC play-in game, wouldn't it have the same feel as when SMU went to Penn State in the first round of the playoff? How much less of a feel do you think it would have than when Indiana went to Notre Dame?
To me, a lot less.
Okay.
Because they're inside conference. I've got a sixth-place team that I don't think deserves to be in this playoff. It feels like Tuesday night in Dayton to me. It really does.
And to me, it feels like 2 9-7 teams in the NFL. They're going to play each other week 18, and one of them's going to sneak in as the 7th seed. And I don't think they're going to do much, but you know what? This intrigues me. I'm interested.
All right. Then it's going to be our poll question. We'll figure out how to word it during the break.
Okay.
We'll get something up. Our Swamp Buggy Races poll question. And when we come back, I'll get to it. This is very much a Mike and Mike tease.
Right. You tease something and don't go to it the very next segment. You go to it 1 or 2 segments after that. This is very entertainment tonight.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Can you hear me? All right. The Big Ten and SEC are thinking of scrapping their conference championship games for 2 play-in games, 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5. Do you like the idea? Is that the question?
Yeah.
All right. Did you see the kid from Illinois selling T-shirts? That's cool.
Upside down.
Yeah.
One, two. Swing. It's I don't know. He wanted to run, but wanted to watch it too, and wanted the finger. A fly.
Wow, a little midweek baseball action. Georgia and Kennesaw State. The Georgia coach got tossed
Oh,
for
really?
arguing the pitch clock. A cop basically perp walked him out of the stadium. And then
Wow.
Georgia comes back from 4-2, hits 2 bombs, and wins it in the 9th.
In Athens, I'm assuming.
I think so.
I will say, though, like Florida State's going to Jacksonville on Tuesday. Florida's already gone to Jacksonville. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, like, East Carolina, while they're bigger than Jacksonville, but East
Right.
Carolina, they have every year now for 3 years, they've had a home, and neutral with North Carolina.
yeah, we're
They
just-
play Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday at Durham Field. I mean, that's really
Awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Tim McKone from the Sports Hub in Boston. To join us coming up at the top of the hour. Seth Everett in a little more than an hour. So we do officially have a Swamp Buggy Races poll question. The races, final ones of the year, a week from Sunday, March 2nd. Go to swampbuggy.com, swampbuggy.com, buy your tickets.
The Big Ten and the SEC are thinking of scrapping their conference championship games for 2 play-in games, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. Do you like the idea? Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X to vote.
And you voted that you don't like the idea.
I don't.
And I voted that initially I was against it. And part of that is because, I was lucky enough to do 18 SEC championship games, and some of them were just classics. Awesome games with so much riding on it. And it's like, we're going to lose some of that.
And
But
we've already lost that.
yes.
We have.
And so that's why I ultimately am okay with it. I actually think the 2 play-in games will have more meaning than Georgia and Texas playing for the SEC title like they did last year, even though the game was very compelling and went overtime.
I would like them to scrap all of this altogether. I know better. It's not going to happen. There's too much money involved for the conferences. And for those of you that are on my side and have texted the same, it's not going to happen. It would be nice. It would be smart. It makes the most sense.
Right. It's like the NCAA tournament going back to 64 teams or 48 teams. I mean, come on. It's not happening.
So, David, we do our show in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We are hockey fans.
Right.
We have learned over the years that between this market and Tampa, that Florida has a really good hockey base.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yep.
And the Fort Myers market has been the number 2 non-NHL market for televised hockey for years.
Milwaukee's number 1.
And Providence is right there, too.
Right.
Milwaukee, Providence, Fort Myers. Think about that.
In terms of a market that doesn't have an NHL team, but take a look at their TV ratings.
And, David, while you're a Ranger fan and I'm a Red Wing fan,
Mm-hmm.
we both have an affinity for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yes.
I would call them my second favorite team in the league, and it's not close. And it has been that way for a long time. Part of it is the Wings started stinking up the joint. The other part is that I live in Florida where I can watch all of their games on cable television, now on YouTube TV and ESPN Plus and the like. But I watch the Lightning regularly.
And
that's my team, not named the Detroit Red Wings.
And I'm guessing that for those years that Yzerman guy was running the show, your affinity for him just made you have more affinity for the Lightning.
Yes, absolutely. And they've been a great franchise.
Absolutely.
They've been an incredibly well-run franchise. I actually worked for their AAA affiliate when I broke into pro sports. So I've been, thinking about the Lightning since the early 90s.
You could argue they've been the best franchise in the league for the last 20 years on and off the ice. You really could make that case.
And I think there are a lot of Floridians that may have a favorite team, be it the Bruins, the Rangers, the Blackhawks, whatever, that like the Lightning. Because of their success, they've had some really good players. They're a team that's easy to like.
Okay. So you set it up. What's going on?
Brandon Hagel, one of their stars.
Right.
A terrific young hockey player.
Yeah, it really is.
Excellent.
Uh-huh.
He opened his mouth.
Oh.
For those of you that don't know, Brandon Hagel's also playing for Team Canada in the Four Nations face-off.
Okay.
And during the day off, he was asked if Canada needed to initiate the physicality on Thursday. Hagel responded, "We're out there playing for the flag, not the cameras. That's part of Canada that we have in there. We don't have to initiate anything. We don't have any group chats going on. We're out there playing our game, giving it our everything, and doing it for our country."
And we're what? Posing? What's he implying there?
The group chats that we're playing for the cameras, that the U.S. team apparently doesn't love the game the way Brendan Hagel and the Canadians do.
Sounds like this bothers you a little bit.
A little bit. The Tkachuk brothers aren't playing for the flag. They beat your ass on the ice and in the fight.
I guess Hagel thinks that they were just, doing what they did for the cameras to get attention.
So I don't know. I wouldn't boo another country's national anthem.
Right.
But Brendan Hagel is not on my Christmas card list anymore.
All right. I guess there's no way to 100% answer this question this week. But is your animosity with Brandon Hagel going to extend to next week? Because this thing ends tomorrow. All right. And then, win or lose on Friday, we'll talk about the game and what have you. And then the season resumes by Monday. I mean, are you really going to hold this against Brandon Hagel going forward?
When asked about the atmosphere at TD Gardens, he said, "I'm sure it's going to be pretty good. I don't think it's going to top Montreal, though." I want him to get the Austin Matthews treatment.
Uh-oh.
I want every time he touches the damn puck for the entire crowd in Boston to boo him.
Boo or who? What do you want him to boo or say who?
Boo.
I will say, I'd like somebody with a little more stature to be, talking like this than Brandon Hagel, to be honest with you. I mean,
Sydney knows better.
Well, I understand, but I mean, could you give me a
McKinnon, a McDavid?
Right, a McCarr? I mean, right. But U.S. in a little bit of trouble tomorrow night.
Oh, they're banged up.
The two Kachuk brothers are banged up. Charlie McAvoy's not going to
playing.
play.
Right. And he was sensational in the game against Canada.
He had 4 hits on McDavid, knocked him down to the ground twice. Yeah. But apparently hurt himself. Not going to play. And we've got Seth Everett joining us in about an hour. This was his big concern in this tournament. How much time are these guys going to miss for their regular teams? Seth's got one more game to sit there and cross his fingers and his legs and his hands for, because I don't believe any of the hurt players are New Jersey Devils. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Defenseman Quinn Hughes, right?
Mm-hmm.
They brought him back hoping he can play. He was injured before the tournament, and they're hoping he can go Thursday night for USA.
I do love a couple of guys who have been called to fill in during this tournament. I mean, they were on vacation. I mean, Cooper joked about, I forget who it was that they called and what have you. He goes, I don't know, but he was someplace warm. I know that. Said, hey, can you meet us in Boston? He's like, okay.
So, Brandon Hagel, great Tampa Bay Lightning player.
Yep.
Enemy number 1 for Canada.
But, is this really going to last more than 36 hours? 40 tops, 48 tops. You'll be over it by the end of the show Friday, won't you?
Depends on the outcome Thursday.
I think Canada's going to win. We're shorthanded. We got it. We're in trouble. Not only that, we've only had one period where we've really scored goals in this tournament.
Yeah, there's a guy for the U.S. team who has really struggled in the postseason in big-time moments.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
He plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Are you going Austin Matthews?
Austin Matthews needs to step up and really, for the first time in his career, be the star that he's capable of being in a big moment. Lot riding on the game to me for Austin Matthews. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening.
Racing like you've never seen before. From Jeeps that bog down to the outlaw who will defend his title. At the final race of the season, we're going Swamp Buggy Racing. Sunday, March 2nd. Don't miss the Bud Cup Finals for the World Championship. Tickets including VIP tour and kids prices are available at swampbuggy.com. Don't miss the season final. It's Florida's oldest racing tradition. Sunday, March 2nd at Florida Sports Park. Off exit 101 in Naples. Get tickets at swampbuggy.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. Sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct, The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Michael, just because I think the USA has injuries and they're in trouble tomorrow night doesn't mean I won't be rooting for them. I mean, come on. Also, Lucifer, McDavid has got what, 3 goals? 4? I mean, he scored against the US. He scored against Sweden. I mean, he's got at least 2 goals. So McDavid's been terrific. Mark was talking about Austin Matthews. We have a lot of injuries, Lucifer. I mean, both Kachuk brothers, Charlie McAvoy won't play. The Kachuk brothers are questionable at best. I like the over tomorrow night, though, which I know the U.S. has given up, what, 1 and 2 goals? That doesn't, I don't know.
5.5 or 6.5.
It's 5.5, I believe. I like the over tomorrow. I don't know. I got a feeling because Canada gives up some grade A scoring chances. I mean, Sweden had or Finland. Finland had 8 to 10 grade A scoring chances that Binnington made tremendous stops on in the first 50 plus minutes of that game. I'd like to think it's time for the U.S. forwards to bury the biscuit, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes to the top of the hour. Tim McKone from the Sports Hub in Boston will join us then. We'll talk about USA Canada a bit. We'll also talk about who's on third for the Red Sox. Seth Everett in an hour here on Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Our Swamp Buggy Races poll question. If you haven't heard, the Big Ten and the SEC not only want 4 teams from their conferences to be guaranteed spots in the playoffs in future years, but the way they go about determining those teams, they want to change. Top 2 teams in the conference during the regular season will be automatically in the playoffs, seeded however, wherever. But then the 2 big conferences are thinking about having the 3rd place team and the 6th place team play in a play-in game, and then the 4th place team and the 5th place team play in a play-in game. And these 2 games would take the place of what has been the conference championship game. The winners are in, guaranteed. These are the 4 teams. The committee seeds them however they seed them. So if you get a 6th place team, like what'd you say, Iowa was 6th place in the Big Ten in the regular season?
Yes, sir.
And regular season, were they a 7 or an 8-win team? Were they 8-4 before the bowl game or 7-5 before the bowl game? Because didn't they finish 8-5?
They finished 8-5.
Right. So whether they were a 7 or an 8-win team, if Iowa as the 6th seed had beaten the 11 1/3 seeded Indiana Hoosiers, Iowa would have been guaranteed a spot in the playoff. Now, you could argue that Iowa then would have been seeded, 14th or 16th out of 14 or 16 teams. I mean, they might have even been seeded worse than the Group of 5 champion. But the Big Ten and the SEC, this is what they are thinking about. And so our poll question is, what do you think about that idea? You like it, or do you think it's ridiculous? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X.
I don't like it. I think it will happen because the conferences are not going to give up on conference championship type games. And the conference championship game has little to no meaning anymore.
I mean, you're playing for seeding, and we're going to have limited to no buys going forward. So what do you gain by playing in the conference championship game besides a trophy? Now, it was a big deal to Oregon and Penn State. Penn State had only been in the game once before. Oregon, first year in the Big Ten, and they're like, yeah, let's win this sucker. This is awesome. It's not like we've won a ton of Pac-12 championships either. We've only done this a couple times. So, yeah, let's go. But year in, year out.
By the way, was that game sold out, Oregon, Penn State?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. No, the joint was jumping.
Because there have been many a Big Ten championship game that they have struggled to sell that venue out.
East versus West. Yes. But no, the joint was jumping. Oh, no, Penn State fans showed up, and so did Oregon fans. They were jacked. They were thrilled. They were like, this is cool. This is everything that we envisioned. We are all in on this Big Ten thing. You know me, Mark. I was doing a day of R&D in the hotel around town.
Why I just didn't recall if that game was sold out or not. Because the Big Ten Conference Championship game, unlike the SEC Conference Championship game, at times has struggled to sell tickets.
Yes. It had an SEC title game juice and feel inside the stadium. Now, not some of the all-time classic SEC championship game juice and feel, but as it was kicking off and what have you, I remember thinking, comparing it to the other SEC title games I'd been at and comparing it and going, oh yeah, this measures up.
So I could be laughed off the show right now. But when this gets done, because I believe this will happen, this 3-6-4-5 thing, I think it will happen.
Well, how much stuff that ends up in articles from the top national writers and end up being talked about on shows like this in recent years have ended up not happening?
Exactly. Now, let me just ask you this. This could be a crazy, stupid idea. But if this happens and goes on for a little bit, if you're the Big 12 in the ACC, would you want to scrap your conference championship game for a 2-3 game to automatically get in your second team? And the regular season conference champion gets the automatic bid. I know you could have ties. I get it.
All right. Can I answer by asking you a question first?
Sure.
If you're running the ACC and the Big 12, you're guaranteed 2. You're hoping to get 3. What's your best chance of getting 3? Playing a 2-3 elimination game of some kind? Or you stick with the classic conference title game and you just let your third place team sit there, smile, and say, hey, don't forget about us when you guys decide who's going to play?
Probably the second, probably the latter. Maybe you scrap the first 2 and play a 3-4. I'm just trying to think of ways, if I'm the ACC of the Big 12, to try to get my third team in. And I don't know if status quo's the best way.
I think you'll be better off not doing anything for now.
Right up until the point when your conference championship loser doesn't get a bid.
Well, that will be interesting going forward if the ACC and the Big 12 essentially determine who their top 2 teams are. I mean, I wonder if they'll be able to tell the committee, hey, the 2 teams playing in the title game, there are 2 bids. You seed them however you want to seed them. But if you make it to our conference championship game, that's our 2 representatives guaranteed. You then decide how to seed those teams, and then you decide whether or not you think our third place team is worthy up against the Big 10 5, the SEC 5, and the Big 12 ACC 3. Or Notre Dame.
Right. Just trying to think as to how the best way, or what the best way rather, is to get a third team in. If I'm running these conferences, because you're more than likely limited at 2 most every year.
The other thing that I believe they're going to have to figure out is seeding. Let me ask you this question. Should the ACC champion get a top 8 seed so that they get a home game? Should the Big 12 champion get a top 8 seed so that they get a home game?
I think that they should.
Now, this
Most
year,
people don't agree with that. Most people are of the opinion that you just seed teams in the order that they deserve to be seeded in.
correct.
I think the conference championship should mean something for the ACC and the Big 12. I think they're deserving of a home game.
So let's extrapolate this out. If you went by final rankings, like Boise State got a 3 seed, but I think they were ranked like 10th. So I'm assuming then Boise State would have gotten like a 10 seed in a 14 or 16 team tournament, right?
Right.
And the only thing that they then would have adjusted going forward, like Clemson was actually ranked behind Boise in the final ranking after the conference championship game. So then you have to decide, does the ACC champion go in as a 12? Or no, they're a 7 or an 8. They get a home game out of the deal. Like, how ironic would Clemson as a 7 hosted 10th seeded Boise State in future years?
Well, and I think the bigger part of this, David, is not the first round seedings.
Right.
Is what they're doing beyond that.
Correct.
Because they, as we have talked about on this show, when the playoff was going on, what's their model? March Madness. What's March Madness? It's a bracket. What did they want for football? An easy to see, fill out your bracket, who's going to win. Didn't work out all that well for Oregon.
No, not at all. And what do we have? A 7 and an 8 seed?
Yeah.
Play for the Natty in Notre Dame and Ohio State. Now, I thought it was great. And no rooting interest. I just thought it was great. I really did. But a lot of people in the sport had a problem with it. And they felt Oregon really got the shaft. And
they did.
They did. They did. I mean, you could argue eventually you're going to have to beat those teams anyway. But I hear you. I mean, playing Ohio State in the first game out of the chute, that was, that's a tough draw, as we like to say.
It is.
But going forward, here's the other thing that I think they're going to have to decide. And I don't even know if they'll take this into account, Mark, because at 14 teams, you get 2 byes. And then 3 plays 14, 4, 13, 5, 12, 6, 11, 7, 10, 8, 9. And then those 6 join the 2 and they go forward. And then, they could decide whether or not we're reseeding or not. Or do we just go forward with the bracket as is? Obviously, if they go 16, and I think you and I are of the belief they're going to get to 16 here very quickly.
Yeah, I think we'll have 12 this coming year, and then we're going to go right to 16. The 14's never going to happen.
And then we eliminate the byes.
Right, but we still then have a bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And is that what they're going to go with when they
so.
get to 16?
I think so. I don't think they'll reseed. They'll do just like the NCAA tournament, where if you get an upset or 2, then that part of the bracket blew up, and somebody can then advance accordingly. I don't think they'll reseed like the NFL and the NBA does.
Do you think that they will eliminate the conference championship teams getting home games and just seed it 1 through 16? I do, for the record. I think that's the other thing that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to be lobbying hard for. While they're doing their 4 teams and talking about these championship games, they are going to want the seeding to be the seeding, not you get a 3rd seed because you won the ACC. That doesn't have any there's no advantage for the Big Ten and the SEC in that.
I understand, but the Big Ten and the SEC need a unanimous vote. And I actually think that this is maybe the last time that the Big 12 and the ACC are going to have a little bit of leverage in the room, in which they could say, hey, if you want our vote, our champion gets a home game. You could seed them 7 or 8, but our champion gets a home game. Against your 3rd place team? I mean, come on. We deserve a home game. And what can the SEC or Big Ten do? They need the vote. Unless they're going to play a game of poker and sit there and go, you're really going to veto this over that? I dare you. But if I was the Big 12 and the ACC, I would join together and I would insist on our champion gets a home game. Even if you see this as the worst seed we can get and still play at home, we get a home game. Mark, very much like the NFL, and if you have the worst record, but you win your division, what do you get? The 4 seed. And you get 10-7 Rams hosting 14-3 Minnesota.
Then you're going to have to go with the same philosophy that you have currently now, and that the top 4 conference champions get home games, because you've got to throw that carrot out for the group of 5 to get their votes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of what happened to Boise this year, where they ended up getting the bye.
But I think going forward, instead of guaranteeing them a top 4 seed, you're just guaranteeing them a top 8.
Well, I don't think you're going to guarantee all 5 conference champions. I think you're going to do the same thing. You're going to guarantee the 4 best conference champions.
Oh, okay. Now that's very interesting. I like that. So that in theory, the Boise States and the Memphises and the Tulanes of the world, that they could get the home game.
Right. They throw a donut up there.
Right.
All hell breaks loose in the Big 12 or the ACC. They could get that fourth home game.
Right. Like Boise State, 12-1, an elite player. Their only loss was to the number one team in the country on the road by 3. They deserved a home game, so to speak. Instead, they got a bye. They had to play in the Fiesta Bowl. I think we all would have much rather seen somebody have to go to the blue turf. That would have been awesome.
It would have been. It really would have been. So this is what's coming down the pike in college football, and it's being led by the two people who lead college football, the commissioners of the Big Ten and the SEC, and they are thinking of scrapping their conference championship games for 2 play-in games, a 3 versus 6 and a 4 versus 5. Do you like the idea? It's our Swamp Buggy Races poll question. Go to Miller_Moulton on X to vote. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or NolanAgency.com.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no.
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Defining a new era in men's health. Get stronger and healthier at Game Day Men's Health. With our in-house laboratory, get in, get treated, and get back to your passion and purpose. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs or Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for a 10% discount on your service. Start living your best with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Nothing.
What?
I got nothing.
Oh. You were looking at me like you had something. How long before we have the Super League in college football?
I think they're trying to not have it. I think they're trying to gobble up as much of the pie as they can without going to the Super League. I think they're going to do this, and however many years down the road, they're then going to say, let's make it 5 teams. Instead of getting 4 guaranteed spots, they're going to say make it 5.
Right.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Halfway home in the 239 and the 904, final hour of the show in Lake City and surrounding areas, Charlotte County and surrounding areas, Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Seth Everett to join us in a little more than 30 minutes time. It's a pleasure to welcome back Tim McKone. He's part of the Zolak and Bertrand midday show on 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston. You can follow Tim on X at Tim_McKone, McKone. Tim, it's David and Mark. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. All right. Taboo or not taboo? Would you laugh the two of us off your show if we started a segment by saying, hey, come on, let's be the bigger country. Let's not give the Canadian players any motivation. Let's give Canada a rousing rendition Thursday. How long
would I want to be able to laugh you guys off the show? I think I have a similar take when it comes to that, and I would be surprised if that's what we end up getting. To be honest, I don't think they're going to boo, which obviously means that it's going to be the loudest boos you've ever heard. Now that I've made this prediction, right? But I don't think you're going to get that at TD Garden. I will say, this whole event as a whole has been an absolute slam dunk, a home run. It's going to be hard to top what we saw over the weekend, despite this being obviously a championship game in Boston. But there is legitimate buzz in the city for Thursday night, which I think, again, is a huge win for the NHL and everything that they've kind of put together here with this Four Nations. The cheapest ticket to get into the Garden, guys, is over $1,100. So there's plenty of intrigue. There's plenty of attention put on this thing. All that being said, I'm with you. I would be surprised if we do get the boos on Thursday night.
From the Boston standpoint, I mean, everybody in Boston obviously fired up. The ticket price, as you mentioned, through the roof for this game. They lost a big defenseman. I don't know for how long. He's not going to be able to play against Team Canada in the game Thursday night, talking about Charlie McAvoy. And with that being said, you know, the injuries are the worst part of this in an exhibition. Boston fan okay with losing one of their own for the sake of the good old USA?
We spent a lot of time talking about this yesterday, guys, because obviously Charlie McAvoy, one of, if not the best player on the Boston Bruins. And when you've got a guy of that stature going down in a tournament that obviously doesn't have any effect on the Boston Bruins themselves, and now you're talking about potentially missing some weeks here from the regular season, you could say, man, this was not worth it. That being said, this has been an absolute train wreck of a season for the Boston Bruins. There were so many expectations coming off of a playoff run last year where they ultimately fall to the Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers, again, by the way, second straight year in the postseason. But then they go out, they make some big splashes in free agency. Everyone's sort of gearing up for this. All right, is this the year they get over the hump? And they have just completely fallen flat. There's been disappointment around this Bruins team all season long. They've just never gotten it going. And there were so many Bruins fans, guys, that were watching this over the weekend that were like, hey, I am fully all in. I am fully invested in this. This is awesome. And so, believe it or not, the general consensus, at least from the callers that we've gotten over the last 24 hours, has been, yeah, it really sucks that Charlie McAvoy got hurt, but this has been an awesome event, and people are kind of okay with it, believe it or not.
How weird is it for you, Tim, that when Marchand gets the puck, you have to root against him?
I know. It takes some getting used to, for sure, and it's going to be a weird environment, certainly Thursday night, when you talk about really one of the last pieces from that 2011 Cup run that the Bruins went on that's still there, beloved by the fan base and everything, and to see him not only playing for a team that you're rooting against, but also doing it in a game with huge stakes at TD Garden. It's going to be a weird atmosphere for sure.
We just talked about it. Brendan Hagel, one of the Tampa Bay Lightning players playing for Team Canada, kind of called out the USA. Now, it wasn't a McDavid or a McKinnon or a Crosby. It's Brendan Hagel, after all. But has he become public enemy number one for this game?
I'll tell you what, it's so interesting because there are so many storylines just like that, guys. And I keep going back to over the weekend, and I don't know how you can top the energy that was in that building. And yet here we go. It continues to build. It continues to build. And so I'm just hoping that Thursday night can sort of live up to all the hype that's sort of surrounding this tournament. And I'm expecting it too, just because of again, everything that took place over the weekend. And so certainly it's going to be a really, really fun night. And I know that, again, like I said, there's plenty of buzz, a lot more than what we even anticipated at the beginning of this thing. It has surpassed your wildest expectations in terms of just how much buzz is going on in Boston for this thing.
Do we know who is going to be brought out tomorrow night by the United States as honorary captain, if you will? Because doesn't it have to be Eruzione?
That's a great question. I haven't heard that. I love that idea, though. I'll be honest with you. That would be a tough one to top. So certainly, if that's in the cards, that would be a huge win for Team USA. I'm with you on that.
He's Tim McKone, part of Zolak and Bertrand show, middays, 10 to 2, 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston. Follow Tim on X, Tim_McKone, McKone.
It's the age-old question. It's been asked for nearly a century, and now it actually applies in Boston. Who's on third?
I'll tell you what, let's start with this. For the first time in about 4 years, guys, we actually have something to talk about when it comes to the Boston Red Sox, and in classic Boston Red Sox fashion, it's drama, right? Which we eat up in Boston. We'll take it. So you know what? Give us a controversy at third base, and obviously, you go into free agency here in the Red Sox. Over the last few years, going into free agency every year, they've talked a really big game. You know what? We're really going to go all in. We're going to get invested in, and they've kind of swung and missed. They haven't landed a big fish. That all changed last week when they come to terms with Alex Bregman. And obviously Alex Bregman, a Gold Glove level third baseman. Well, the face of the franchise for the Boston Red Sox is Rafael Devers, who is an unbelievable hitter. Again, face of the franchise. Also, really not a good defensive third baseman. He does not want to leave his position. And not only does he not want to leave his position, when he was asked about it, said, no, not going to happen. I'm not going to do it. So, there is some drama surrounding this thing. The organization wants Bregman to play third. I think ultimately that's what's going to happen here. But in classic Red Sox fashion, they make all these moves. They talk about how if they're going to bring in a new third baseman at the beginning of the offseason, that they're going to have discussions with Rafael Devers. It turns out that didn't take place. They waited until Friday of this last week to kind of spring it on that they want him to have a position move. That didn't go well. That conversation did not go well. And so here we are in the middle of spring training where you've got not only these two guys, and credit to Alex Bregman, who's come out and said that I'm going to do whatever it takes, to make this team successful. But when you've got Rafael Devers coming out saying he doesn't want to move, and then yesterday you have your first baseman, Tristan Cassis, taking a step further, saying that, you know what, Rafael Devers should be the third baseman, Alex Bregman should be playing second base. Some of these young prospects aren't ready for the major leagues. Filling out a lineup card, guys, like he's Alex Cora, the manager. It's been an interesting spring training and an interesting 48 hours for sure for Boston.
Yeah, but Alex Cora, when asked a follow-up, matter-of-factly said, yeah, I'm the manager. We'll make the decision, and we're going to do what's in the best interest of the Boston Red Sox. I thought he pretty much said, this is great for you guys. Write what you're going to write. Say what you're going to say. Yeah, I'm going to decide what we're doing going forward, and everybody's going to step in line.
Yeah, so he went a step further, too. He actually said, you know what, when Rafael Devers signed this 10-year contract and there was a promise about being able to play third base long-term, well, that promise came from former general manager Chaim Bloom, and Chaim Bloom is now in St. Louis. So it's essentially saying, you know what, there's a new regime in town, and if you're going to move, you're going to move. And so,
what more, Tim? Tim, what more can they blame on Chaim Bloom? I mean, honestly, they're blaming everything on him.
More shrapnel than Chaim Bloom over the last 2 years. There's no question about it. And so it was kind of startling comments there from Alex Cora. Now, the other dynamic here as well is that there's obviously a previous relationship between Alex Bregman and Alex Cora. Alex Cora was really pounding the table this offseason for the Red Sox to bring in Bregman. So clearly his guy. It's a guy that not only has some leadership qualities, but knows what it takes to win, and that's certainly something that has been lacking here for the Boston Red Sox. And you kind of see sort of that lack of maturity. As talented as Rafael Devers is, his response to those questions, same thing with Tristan Cassis and speaking out, that there is, while certainly a lot of young talent on this team, sort of a leadership void, and hopefully Bregman can help fill that. But to your point, make no mistake about it, Alex Cora has been pretty clear in the fact that it's going to be Bregman at third here moving forward, and that's all dependent on whether or not they have someone that can actually play second base. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of feelings up in the air right now when it comes to the Red Sox. But again, I'll say it, at least the Red Sox we're talking about the Red Sox for the first time in a few years, guys. At least there's some drama and some expectations around this team, and so I think as a whole, the fan base is more excited about saying, hey, you know what? This spring, we actually have something to talk about here and something to get excited about when it comes to the Red Sox and the talent that they've accumulated.
Well, and you definitely have enough pitching. I mean, if you can get to October, the Red Sox could be a pain in the you-know-what. But, Tim, as we all know, Devers and Casas better be careful here. You come across as being more interested in yourself than the Red Sox. That fan base will turn on you and never forgive.
No doubt. And certainly this is not the first run-in with Tristan Casas. He's not been shy in terms of vocalizing his opinion. It felt like there towards the end of last season, the relationship between Alex Cora and Tristan Cassis soured a little bit. Feels like over this offseason that certainly got repaired, but I can't imagine Alex Cora was thrilled with the comments. And again, Tristan Cassis essentially filling out a lineup card and telling everyone what he thinks Alex Cora should be doing. So again, some work to do here this offseason, no question.
Tim McKone's on his way into work. He's part of the Zolak and Bertrand midday show, 10 to 2 on 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston. Follow Tim on X, Tim_McKone, McKone. Tim, thanks. Safe travels, and let's hope tomorrow night's awesome.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Tim McKone joining us once again here on Miller and Moulton.
By the way, just little stat, and I'm not a baseball geek, but I had stats in front of me to get ready for this interview.
Okay.
Devers is a -9 last year in run differential from a defensive standpoint at third base.
Now, granted, you have to be at this position for a while to be this stat, but he is the worst defensive third baseman pre-pandemic. So that means you've manned the position for over 5 years, but defensively, the whole run saved and what have you. He's the worst defensive third baseman in the majors going back to before the pandemic.
And of course, the first baseman's going to say he wants him at third, because if he goes to first, where's this guy going to play?
Well, he's going to DH.
Right.
I don't know. The checks still cash, by the way.
They do.
I mean, and those are pretty big checks, especially for Devers.
They're really big for Devers.
Yes, they are. Miller and Moulton, Seth Everett coming up in about 25 minutes. Thanks so much for being with us, millerandmoulton.com.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton. You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com. Miller_Moulton on X. One of the great things when we're in the afternoons was a whole lot of news already happened before our show, and then more news would happen during our show. Doing mornings, not a lot of news happens. Got to pay attention. Every now and then something happens.
But very rarely, and particularly in the first couple hours of the show.
So this is a little earlier. I mean, usually if we get some kind of news, it happens during our bonus hour, 9 a.m. Eastern. But so I guess the Chargers have been designated as the team that's going to Brazil. And I guess there's going to be a game in Brazil this year. Part of the 2025 international, series, if you will.
There's one more on the list you might be able to do, David.
Oh, man. I was so happy when NBC got that game last year. So happy. So were they. A lot of people watched. They got the Eagles and the Packers.
Right. Got a great game.
Yeah. Surface was interesting. All right. But Eagles ended up winning a close one. Jordan Love got banged up. Missed a couple of weeks, I think, coming out of that game. But so apparently the Chargers are designated because it was an Eagles home game last year.
Yes, it was.
So now the AFC has the 9 home games this year. So you figured an AFC team will be designated as the home team in all of these international games, or most of them. Like next year, 2026, when the NFL's already announced they're going to Australia, who's the home team? The Rams. It's their territory. NFC with 9 home games that year. One of your home games is in Australia. You don't lose a game at SoFi, so to speak.
Thought that there was a little bit of interesting news that came out of Tampa yesterday. And if you're a Bucs fan, I think you would be excited about it. They pushed back the void on Chris Godwin's contract by a month to give them time to work out a deal, which apparently they are working on to keep the receiver in Tampa.
I'm a little surprised. I thought they were going to take the salary cap relief. To me, to do this, you have to have great confidence. Having seen him with your own eyes, that he's going to come back and be really close to being Chris Godwin, which is an excellent number 2 receiver. but a number 2 receiver.
But an excellent number 2.
An excellent number 2. Top 10 in the league, I would venture. Number 2 receiver. So that to me is it. Like they're keeping the gang together. They got Baker. They got Evans. Now if they're going to keep Godwin together. Now they've gone, Mark, from 8 wins to 9 wins to 10 wins. You know, Mr. Glass half full, Roy Cummings makes the argument, hey, keep this core together. Couple of improvements. This team's ready to get into the 12-plus win category. Do you feel that way about the Bucs?
Well, I think they're really close to being in that territory, David. The one thing that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think, have done a really good job of the past couple of years is that they've beaten the good teams. You know, they have some, they beat Detroit, they beat Philadelphia. They have the ability to go up against the best in the NFC and beat the best in the NFC.
Lost at KC in overtime, and they were shorthanded that game and still nearly beat them. We're still saying to Todd Bowles, go for 2. Go for 2.
I think with Godwin being out this year, I think it's the McMillan kid who stepped up and was pretty damn good. That gives them a third weapon. The tight ends came into play. They've got themselves a running back. The offensive line was completely revamped in the last 2 years where now it can run block effectively, and they've done a very good job. You know, yesterday you were going through the draft, and Myles Garrett in the Mike Miller mock draft ended up being traded to Detroit. If I'm Tampa, when it's my turn to pick in the first round, I'm making calls to Cleveland to make sure that Myles Garrett doesn't go to Detroit and that he comes to Tampa.
You going to give up 2 ones?
Yes.
Okay. You going to extend? He's got 2 years left on a deal. He's obviously, wherever he goes, he's going to go, a little something for the effort, boys. And he's going to want a couple extra years thrown on it, more guaranteed money, the whole deal. You willing to do that? He's 29 years old this year. You willing to add at minimum 2 years, maybe 3? Like when Khalil Mack went to the Bears, they greeted him with a 5-year big money contract.
I would. The problem is that Tampa Bay doesn't have any money. They've got to work a lot of things around, and it's why, in theory, I think this trade makes a lot of sense. The problem is when you look at the Lions, who are sitting there with $43 million under the cap, and the Bucs, who have nothing under the cap, the maneuvering that Tampa Bay has to do just to get cap compliant, let alone start signing free agents or trading for free agents, is going to be a tough move for Tampa.
It's another reason why I'm surprised that they're going to do a deal with Godwin. Because like you, the tight ends really came through last year. They've got 2 running backs. They think they have a 1 and a 1A. Whether they do or not, they think it. And the young wide receivers were coming through, and could one of them become, it's kind of like in Cincinnati. Like Cincinnati's number 3 wide receiver began to really impress the last 5 or so games of the season. And now you're trying to figure out, if we move him and make him our number 2 wide receiver, is he going to continue to impress, or did we just put him in deep waters where we made a mistake? And now we don't have a number 2 receiver. And now Chase really will get double teamed on every play. But I'm surprised because of what you pointed out. The Bucs are kind of up against it here. I thought, great news for Bucs, by the way. They lost one guy in their front office, but their cap guy didn't get the job. Okay, Mike Greenberg. All right, he didn't get hired, and he was up for a couple jobs. He did not get hired, and most everybody in that organization's like, this guy's amazing. I mean, he does things, and we don't know how he does it. So that's good news for them this important offseason. I'm with you, by the way. I say, let's go. It's a weaker conference. You got Baker for 2 more years at $33 a year.
We don't know what Penix is going to do in Atlanta.
No.
We have no idea if he's going to be average, good, great, bust. We don't have a clue. The Saints are going backward. There's no two ways about it. That's a bad football team. It's a bad organization. Carolina will be better, but there's still a team that is in transition trying to become a good football team.
Quick sidebar. Falcons likely stuck with Kirk Cousins. He's a $45 million cap hit if they keep him. He's nearly $70 million if they get rid of him. If you're the Falcons, don't you hold on to him? I mean, is it really worth? What are you going to get for him in a deal? Also,
nothing.
So, I mean, you're going to take a $22 to $25 million cap hit to get rid of Kirk Cousins. Why not just keep him? Like you said, we think Penix is the answer. We don't know. And not only that, no idea if he'll stay healthy. He got hurt twice in college.
$45 million backup in Atlanta. Kirk getting paid again.
Hall of Famer.
He is on the first team all business Hall of Fame.
First ballot.
In fact, you start this Hall of Fame with Kirk Cousins.
Him and Sam Bradford could both be unanimous.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I like you being aggressive, though, wanting to give up 2 1s for Myles Garrett. I like it. You've had a little spunk this morning. You have to get that nap or that Snickers. Seth Everett is next.
Swamp Buggy Racing returns to Naples, Florida Sports Park Sunday, January 26th for the Swamp Buggy Winter Classic. Naples' all-American weekend of family fun starts Saturday the 25th at 10 with a red, white, and blue parade and celebration down 41 from Coastland to 5th. But Sunday, we're Swamp Buggy Racing. 6 categories, from Jeeps to Bog to the big V8s that roar around the famed Mile of Mud. It's Florida's oldest racing tradition. Get tickets today at swampbuggy.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge
it's a problem when they've got 7 spots in the system and they're all basically titled the same thing.
They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Is snoring bothering your spouse? Would you like to sleep in the same bed again? Do you know that snoring can affect your sleep cycle and cause lower testosterone levels? At Sleep Treatment Direct, we have easy solutions. We have a simple laser procedure that can improve snoring in 10 minutes. If you would like to get back in the same bed or are looking for a natural way to treat low testosterone, give us a call at 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Or go to sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I'm sorry, what? David?
We got a note saying an open mic.
Yeah, it was just in the Twitch chat room.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
Nothing that went over the air.
Sounds good.
Hi, Seth.
Hi, you have an open mic. Just kidding.
Is that like open mic night?
Yes, it's just like that. Where are you? What's this? I know you explained it, but
He's in studio with me today.
You're in the same room?
Yes.
Oh, why don't you just get a big 2-shot, sit next to each other?
Well, because in the board op, I'm actually in the
other room,
production room, and he's in the main studio room.
Cool.
This is how we used to do shows. Although actually we sat next to each other.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
No USA shirt today, or are you saving it for tomorrow?
I haven't decided who I want to win. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Did you see that goal that Jesper Bratt had Monday night? Oh, that's a professional outfit. I'm going to be in Bloomington, Indiana. We're taking the kid to see it. And Thursday night, our mission is to find a place to watch that game.
So you're going to IU?
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Never been. I mean, I've been to Indianapolis, but I've never been to Bloomington. They used to have the winter meetings at Indianapolis.
Hey, you're the one that said you know John Rothstein well, right?
Yeah. Need him?
Might need you to put in a good word and see if we could get him on this show.
No problem.
He's a great college basketball.
Yes, he is.
Or covers the sport very, very well.
Yep. Yes, he is. Yes, he does. College basketball stinks. Syracuse.
Oh, Syracuse stinks.
Syracuse.
College basketball is just fine.
Yeah.
Expand your horizon, Seth.
Ugh. Ugh. I watched the first half. They were up by 8, and then I went to this event, and I saw some friends, whatever, and I kept getting the alerts on my phone, and voila, they blew a 16-point lead.
That was a must-win for Pitt.
Yes, it was.
Pitt's just outside, I think, the tournament, and they cannot afford to lose to a quad three.
But you're talking about the NCAA tournament. Syracuse is on the verge of not making the ACC tournament.
Yeah, which is staggering.
Embarrassing.
That's embarrassing. I mean, Autry's got to get fired. Gotta.
Who you guys going to hire?
Whoever Carmelo wants. Brawny.
Hire Hopkins, who was supposedly the guy.
I would.
Jerry Mack.
I would. I like those guys. I like Jerry McNamara.
Pride of Scranton.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I think he's been on Sports with Friends too. Autry hasn't.
Well, in that case.
Yeah, of course.
This is a done deal.
You know Dan Rosen?
No, welcome. Isn't he the
NHL.com?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to do Sports with Friends next week to recap the Four Nations. This tournament's been amazing. And I was very lukewarm going in.
Lukewarm? You were ice cold.
Please
I know.
Stop.
It's been I've watched every minute. I've loved every second of it. It's been so much fun.
Where Seth was wrong.
Right.
I was wrong. I was dead wrong.
Or Colin was right.
I watched that first game, the Canada-Sweden game, and I fell in love with this thing. I said, this is great. Give me more.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
On this hump day, and Seth Everett helps us get over it every Wednesday at this time. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Our Swamp Eggy Races poll question. So the Big Ten and the SEC, when we go to 14 or 16 teams, they want 4 of their teams guaranteed spots, and they want to determine 2 of the spots this way. They want to get rid of their conference championship games and have it be 2 play-in games where the 3rd place team plays the 6th place team and the 4th place team plays the 5th place team, and the 2 winners are guaranteed spots in the playoffs. Do you like the idea, yes or no? At Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X.
Right now, the voting is no, David. 60% saying no.
I figured that's not as big a margin as I thought it would be. Thought it'd be bigger, to be honest. You know who was against something 2 weeks ago and a week ago? Seth Everett. And that something was the Four Nations face-off.
Not just against it. I mean, with every fiber in his being.
My guys are going to get hurt.
Oh, my God.
Guys are going to get hurt. I hate it. Yep.
Oh, my goodness. Why are we doing this? This is stupid. Seth, of the first 6 games of this tournament, how much of it have you watched?
I've watched probably 96% of it. I think I missed one period.
And why?
How's it been, Seth?
Yeah. Why's that?
Phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. The intensity on all the games, not just the USA-Canada game, was great. The coverage has been fantastic. The announcers have been wonderful. The players have been great. My Devil players have been fantastic. I love every ounce of this.
So now are you okay if one of the Hughes brothers gets hurt tomorrow?
No.
Come on now. I mean,
no, then I'll go back to hating it.
No, we just had a guest from Boston, and Mark asked him, hey, Charlie McAvoy, hurt, probably going to miss some time here in the season. And
terrible.
Boston's borderline playoff team right now. Every point's crucial. He's their number one defenseman.
100%.
And Tim McKone said, yeah, the Boston hockey fans, like, this tournament's bigger than a regular season. We're all for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can debate that. That's semantics, what's bigger. But the fact of the matter is that my guys haven't gotten hurt. So it's been okay. When Trocheck went down, I don't know if he's seriously hurt, but that didn't bother me. And
you're rooting for injuries because it's of a team you don't like?
Well, I mean, if it's a stinking Ranger, I mean, please, country.
Seth, I'm curious. Miller and Moulton, and it really wasn't one more than the other, but both of us, after Canada spent last week booing our anthem.
I thought that was terrible, by the way.
I did too. And if I were doing this show in Boston, I would have spent the entire week trying to tell the Boston sports fan to not boo, to sing their damn anthem.
Correct.
To applaud, to do what they did in Chicago Stadium during our national anthem and still do in Chicago at the United
100%.
Center.
100%.
I would love to turn the tables on them. I don't think it'll happen. It is Boston after all. I'm guessing the boo birds will be out.
Yeah, I do too. I thought it was shameful. No matter what's going on the ice, no matter what's going on politically, you don't boo people's anthem. Yeah, you just don't. It's terrible. Canada fans are too intense sometimes, and it's wrong. It's wrong. And I understand the Canadians, and the Canadian people, and all the stuff that's been said about them, and they're very nationalistic right now. But you don't boo another team's anthem, another country's anthem. You just don't. You don't do it. By the way, just to show you how much I adore my kids, I put the Four Nations face-off on, and all of a sudden Zibanejad skated down the line, and I wasn't looking at the TV at the time, and my oldest just says to me, "The Weasel's in this?"
It's another Ranger. It's a Devil's household. All right, so there you go.
I said, "Oh, love you."
So if it's a choice between, a Ranger who plays for Team USA, Adam Fox scoring the game-winning goal.
My guy. Yep.
You're a relative.
Right.
My relative.
Right. You're related to him.
Yes, I am.
Even though it'll take a subpoena for you, apparently, to get him on Sports with Friends. But
correct.
Okay. So, we present to you, he's an American. You're an American. You'd love for America to win. But if it's going to be a Ranger scoring the game-winning goal,
no,
I'd
it's
rather
okay.
it be
It's
Canada.
okay if a Ranger scores.
Ranger or Canada?
No, it's a Ranger. There's no Devils on Canada, so it's clearly we want USA. That's I'd love for Jack to be the star.
I feel like we're playing that game show, Dead or Canadian. Ranger or Canadian?
Exactly.
Oh, man, I don't know.
Seth, before this tournament, and I was gung-ho for this thing for weeks,
I
thought that the success of this tournament could change all-star games. it looks as if basketball wants to do a world versus USA. They've got to participate and get into it for it to happen. But do you think Manfred's watched this and given any thought to, and I know you're against the end of the season, but doing something World Baseball Classic now during the All-Star break?
Well, I've said all along, to me, the World Baseball Classic should be done in October with all the teams that don't make the playoffs. You have it. You give them a week. You let the play-in tournament go, and so then you have your final 4 teams left. And so you have the World Baseball Classic should be then. You play the games in the daytime. First of all the European nations would like that, and you don't compete against your postseason, and you play it right then and there. And that way, if guys get hurt, they have months and months and months to rehab, unless it's a catastrophic injury, which is rare. The idea of any kind of an international tournament, if you really want it to be about the international tournament, it should not be in the middle of a season.
Why not? That's exactly what they're doing in hockey, and you think it's incredible.
But I'm saying from the context, I loved what they've done with the World Championships in hockey, where what they've done is they've done it in April and May during
the Seth, they've been doing it for 40 years, and no one's ever given a damn.
No, I understand that.
No. No one's ever given a damn about that tournament, ever.
So the fact that the Olympics is in the winter for hockey, not for basketball, but the Olympics is in the middle. You have to acquiesce to the players. You have to give the players what they want a little bit. And so what they're doing is they're going to take another 3-week break next year for the Torino Olympics.
Right.
Okay. So you're doing that. So you might as well milk it for what it's worth. And that's what this Four Nations thing is. This Four Nations thing replaces All-Star. It's not a version of All-Star.
Right. Absolutely right. And now after the 26 Winter Olympics, the NHL is going to make sure every 2 years there's a major international, if you will. 28 will be a World Cup, and then 30 will be Olympics, and 32, 34, etc. If you're Manfred and you've got a CBA that's up in 2 years and the players come to you, the way the players came to Bettman and begged for this tournament, please, we want to start playing against one another again. And Bettman acquiesced, and this is what he came up with.
Okay.
If you're Manfred and the players come to you and say, we want to do what hockey did, let's do the World Baseball Classic in July.
Instead of the All-Star game.
Yes.
So
we'll do it one time, and we'll see how popular it is or unpopular, and we'll do it. And yes, there's going to be a couple guys that are going to get hurt, but you as commissioner need to convince the owners to suck it up and deal. This is what we want.
So then, but here's the question in baseball, and it's very different. Number one, you're going to give a 2 or 3 week break in July. Are you extending the season, or are you playing in December? Or are you playing in mid-March?
Well, Seth, we're already starting games on March 27th. I mean, never mind the Japan games. Well, but also we're not thinking of shutting it down for as long as hockey. Okay, because in hockey, they want to be every other day or what have you. In baseball, quite frankly, we could put 4 teams together and we could play a round robin, and then the top 2 teams play the championship. We could do this in 7 to 10 days. I mean, we could.
It's extended. Are you going to play less games? Are you going to play less than 162?
No. But
start the season a week earlier. Have a 1-week tournament.
Seth, think about it. The All-Star break is 4 days. It's a Monday through a Thursday. So how many more days are we asking for to do this World Baseball Classic? 3 to 6 more days.
If you build doubleheaders, and you could do them split, so you get the gates
1 and 7, right?
You'd have to build in doubleheaders so you're not playing the World Series.
So once every 3 years, which is when the World Baseball Classic is, once every 3 years, we have to build in 4 to 6 split doubleheaders to do that. I'm just saying, if you're
I'd be fine with that, but the players have to agree to the doubleheaders.
Well, yes. I mean, Seth, if Mark and I are the players and we come to you and we say this is what we want, you then go, okay, this is what it's going to mean, and we have to do. Yeah, right. Let's do it.
This is what we have to do. Yes. But I echo what the conversation I had with Brian Cashman in 2006, where we said that if you were a general manager of a baseball team, which he was, don't want any of your pitchers pitching in this thing.
Yeah, no, we get it. No. All the teams will be nervous, and there'll be a couple injuries. There will. But then again, there are a couple injuries when they do it in March, and there would probably be a couple injuries if they did it in early November.
Yeah.
There would. It's sports. Injuries happen.
Right. And baseball's never had an opportunity in the last 25 years to look at another sport and slap it in the face the way that hockey just did to the NBA over the weekend. That's never happened.
It's amazing how, college basketball didn't even register this week. And the only thing that really has been in sports that got any kind of a significant audience was this tournament.
With a number 1 versus number 2 playing each other in college basketball on Saturday.
Yeah, and it got dwarfed. I couldn't believe it. Again, I'm down on college basketball, but I'm not rooting against it. I'm not hating on college basketball. I'm fascinated with how many people jumped on board. I'm so curious to see how many people watch this championship game.
I wish it was on ABC tomorrow. It's going to be on ESPN. That'll cost them at least $1 million.
Yeah.
At least $1 million.
Why couldn't they?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, obviously it's a sweeps month and they've got, programming, but I don't know what ABC airs on Thursday nights. Like is Idol a Thursday night thing or a Wednesday? I thought it was a Wednesday night thing, but I don't know what they air on Thursday nights, but let me tell you something. It's got to be really good because there's not a lot of primetime shows anymore on network TV that get you 5 or so million viewers. And this game on a Saturday night, the worst night for television of the week, did 4.4.
It was fantastic. And a fantastic presentation. McDonough's been great. Wischusen's been great. Kenny Albert's been great. Brendan Burke's been great.
McDonough's been great because he's missed all but one game. That's why he's been great on hockey. All right.
Yeah, I have a tough time saying great McDonough in hockey. When he learns all the players on both teams, we might get to great.
But Wischusen, we're high on Wischusen.
Outstanding.
Bob Wischusen, outstanding. All right, you got 4 seconds. Sports with Friends Hall of Justice, go.
Lauren Williams is a coach with the New York Sirens of the PWHL. And not only that, the PWHL is playing in their 3rd season, and 6 players and 2 coaches live in my building. So we recorded it in the lobby of my building. Lauren Williams on Sports with Friends. It's a very interesting league and a very interesting world, and I learned so much during that podcast.
Seth, enlighten our audience. What league is that again?
It's the Professional Women's Hockey League.
Thank you.
There are 6 teams, 3 American, 3 Canadian. They travel all over the place. They have a game tonight, and they're playing their games at Prudential Center. So they're 6 of their players live in my building, and my kids have been hanging out with them, and it's been great.
Do you guys play hockey in the basement? I mean, street hockey out on the street? I mean,
no, but they're in the gym all the time. And it's very intimidating. They
Hall of Justice.
Like a twig. Hall of Justice is a review of Captain America: Brave New World, a very, very disjointed movie.
I think you just gave it a review.
Yeah, well, still listen to the podcast.
By the way, quickly, so how was the feedback on the 3 readings of the entire Superman 5 script that was never became public, but you ended up getting a hold of it and read the script. How was
IMDb put it on their site. They put the links to the podcast on their site. It's been very well received. The people who have said it's just like an old-timey radio play. It really was very unique. I don't know if I'd ever do it again, but if something came like this, I would try it. It was really, really neat, and the feedback's been very cool.
Well, congratulations. That job well done. Thanks. Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice. Follow him on X at Seth_Everett, Seth_Everett. Seth, safe travels tomorrow. Enjoy the game, and we'll talk next week.
Go hockey.
USA, 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 USA.
Except those damn Rangers.
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no.
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Well, that's weird.
What's that?
I was responding to a texter and I couldn't text the word tournament. It wouldn't allow me to text the word tournament or tourney. Said it was a mobile carriers would ban it. It's not the F word, it's tournament.
Right. Are people running that fans of college basketball teams that won't make the tournament? Is that why they're upset? I mean,
Can't help you there.
Villanova and Syracuse and Indiana people running the. And after last night, maybe UCLA. By the way, Lucifer, Seth doesn't hate college basketball. He was just joking because Syracuse is bad this year, and that's why he hates college basketball.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the final hour of Miller and Moulton. We call it the bonus hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Not only do we broadcast live from the Floor Meister Studios, Floor Meisters just keeping it real, but all guests. And today that meant Tim McKone and Seth Everett. All guests join us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. And we thank Floor Meisters and American Paint Supplies for helping sponsor Miller and Moulton.
Among all of the great sponsors of the show.
Right.
Looking for more.
Yes, we are.
Desperately.
Needing more, but you know, we're very appreciative.
We are very appreciative. We really are.
Of those that we have. We didn't bring it up with Seth because we had a good hockey discussion going and he was all enthusiastic. And so, you know, Seth can go negative. And so we wanted to keep it positive. But we brought this up much earlier in the show. An ABS challenge system is going to be used throughout spring training. And what that is you've got a home plate umpire. And the home plate umpire will call balls and strikes. And then pitcher, catcher, or batter, and only pitcher, catcher, or batter, can immediately go, no, that wasn't what you called.
I want to stop you. It's semantics. But you said can immediately. It actually should be said has to immediately.
Correct.
I'm not trying to be a jerk.
No, you're right.
But to do has to immediately challenge.
Right.
Pitcher, batter, catcher. And I say that because when we watch football, which I said earlier in the show, if you're listening throughout the 4 hours, is that when a challenge flag comes in football, a lot of times, particularly when the team's on offense, the coach is waiting for an assistant coach up in the booth to give them the yay or the nay to throw the challenge flag. They don't have that in baseball. It is just the individual players, pitcher, catcher, batter, and they have to immediately challenge the call.
And quite frankly, they do it in baseball also where, you know, the guys will try to catch a sneak peek of a replay or they'll quickly call upstairs and go, should we challenge, you know, attempted steal at second, called out. Was he out? Should we challenge that? And they stall for as long as they can.
Right.
And the home plate umpire kind of stares into the dugout, kind of like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Clock's going here. What are you going to do? You want to challenge it? So for this is for balls and strikes only, the ABS challenge system. They've been doing it at different levels in the minor leagues. Home plate umpire calls balls and strikes. Pitcher, catcher, or batter. Only 3 who can challenge the ball or strike call. You get 2 challenges a game. I will say, Mark, it was brought up earlier in our Twitch chat room, twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. You can see us while we do the show, and you can comment in the chat room, in which a listener wondered, hey, do you only use the challenges for your pitcher? Or do you use them for your hitter? Where do you think the challenges are? It's in a way, it's kind of like deciding when do I want to use my timeouts. Like in football, there are those that believe the timeout is actually more valuable on defense. Okay, there are some that believe it's more valuable on offense. All right. If you get 2 challenges, now, if you get your challenge correct, you still have 2 challenges. So in theory, you could have 17 challenges as long as you get most all of them right. I'm just curious, do you have an inkling heading into the game? Like, hey, guys, like you say to your batters, hey, man, if he misses one off the corner and screws you, I don't know what to tell you. We're saving our challenges for the pitchers.
David, I'm walking the fence here. But hear me out.
All right.
I'm leaning towards giving them to my pitcher.
Okay.
Sight line or catcher or whatever, the pitcher-catcher combination. Giving it to the battery because I think that they see it a little better than the hitter. However, there are a handful of batters in baseball who know the strike zone really well.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys would always have the green light. My guess is there are also a lot of hitters who think the strike zone is one thing and would screw up in challenging. So I would be leaning pitcher-catcher hard, but I would have a couple of guys, and even if I had to bring them in the manager's office,
right,
and say, David, I've told the entire offense they can't challenge. You can. I've watched you play for 8 years. There's not a batter that I think knows the strike zone as well as you do. You've got the green light.
So it's kind of like if Gwynn or Boggs were still playing, and obviously in Gwynn's case still alive, that you would basically say, listen, if you disagree with a call, challenge it.
And I certainly don't know. Think about it. There are so many spots because baseball, every pitch changes everything. Hell of a lot different between a 3-0 count and a 2-1 count.
Well, and the biggest one is the 1-1 pitch. That's the biggest difference in terms of batting average, OPB, and what have you. I mean, that the difference between 2-1 and 1-2 is huge. That's actually the biggest difference. It's even, I think, bigger than 1-0-0-1, first pitch strike. That the 1-1 pitch is actually the most important pitch of the at-bat based on, analytics. Take it for what it's worth. So, but it was just pointed out by a listener. Do you strategically just say, I'm saving my challenges for my pitchers? And the other thing, do you only save them for when you think the ump missed a 2-strike call? You get 2. And like you said, now there are certain people I really trust. I don't think they're going to get their challenge wrong.
And there are certain pitchers who in their delivery aren't necessarily going straight forward. They're leaning off to one side or the other. I would probably lean on my catcher as much as I would anyone else.
So at 5 ballparks in Arizona this spring, but it's ballparks where 2 teams hold spring training. So 10 of the teams that are in Arizona are going to play spring training games using this ABS challenge system. And 8 Florida teams will be using the ABS system. It's our understanding, based on the stories that we've seen, that the 2 Lee County stadiums and the Charlotte County Stadium are not going to be using the ABS. Hope that's wrong, but in the stories that I've looked at, Red Sox, Rays, Twins games have not been listed as teams that are going to use the ABS system. Major League Baseball wants the guys to be very aggressive trying it out. They want more data. They also want to get the players comfortable in doing it. Now, if they're a young player and they were in the minors recently, they had it in the minors. But this is not the computerized ball strike where essentially the home plate umpire is eliminated. This is, no, you got the home plate umpire. This is a mechanism to improve the home plate umpire?
Yes. Yes, and I think they looked at tennis, and you may not be a tennis fan, but you're obviously aware of their challenge system.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that their challenge system does and does very well is get audience participation.
Right. And in this ABS system, by the way, it's going to be like tennis, where the challenge, we're going to see it on the scoreboard, and you're going to see it at home on your TV screen.
So it adds a little drama.
In recent years, the average challenge has taken 17 seconds total. And there have been on average of 4 challenges a game in the minors with this system in place. So baseball, which is very cognizant of not wanting to slow the game down, baseball is adding an element for improved balls and strikes that could add a minute or so to every game. I think it's a minute worth taking.
Right, because every one of these will have a little bit of drama to it.
Yeah, entertainment factor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And after all, this is a television show.
Along those lines, and we don't know how many of you watch baseball, but what has become Mark, it's almost the equivalent, I believe, of the time and score on the top left corner of your screen or bottom part of your screen, wherever the network that's showing the game puts it. I mean, if a network nowadays doesn't have the time and score available to you as a viewer, you'd freak out. You'd be like, what the heck's going on here? And we watched football in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s and didn't have one of those. And if you ever see a highlight right now, you're like, man, the screen's naked. There's nothing on it.
That big yellow chyron before the play that said 3rd and 6.
Yep, that's it. And maybe you'd get that. You might have to actually listen to the announcer who told you it. But one of the things that could go away, which I don't fully understand, but in a story I just read, they may, in baseball, they have the strike zone, the rectangular box.
Right.
They think that may go away.
To add to the drama?
Also, because there's been an argument, are the boxes accurate? So what if you have a pitch that looks as if it's just outside the box? The guy challenges it, all right, and the computer, the ABS system goes, no, that's a strike. I mean, it's kind of like when we watch football and we go, what the hell are they looking at? His foot was down. Or that's clearly
or that
a
was
fumble.
the first down.
Right.
He clearly got over the yellow line,
Right.
which we've all been told is not 100% accurate.
And so there's talk that the way we've gotten used to watching baseball with the white rectangular box as the strike zone, and we take it largely as gospel, it may go away.
I don't know if I like that. I like the box.
Would be like eliminating the yellow line. Remember when the yellow line was added and people went, what the heck? And in short time, it was kind of like, how come everybody doesn't have this?
It would be different watching baseball and having to go back to calling your own balls and strikes as opposed to a box that basically told you that pitch was a strike. That's interesting. The umpires would love it. Those accounts like Umpire Audit that are all over X calling out every single pitch that's wrong by an umpire, they would be big fans of this move.
But I'm not sure that the audience would be. And once again, Mark, what is this after all?
It's a TV show, David.
Miller and Moulton. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when in 25 minutes.
Racing like you've never seen before. From Jeeps that bog down to the outlaw who will defend his title. At the final race of the season, we're going Swamp Buggy Racing. Sunday, March 2nd. Don't miss the Bud Cup Finals for the World Championship. Tickets including VIP tour and kids prices are available at SwampBuggy.com. Don't miss the season final. It's Florida's oldest racing tradition. Sunday, March 2nd at Florida Sports Park. Off exit 101 in Naples. Get tickets at SwampBuggy.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
So my arch enemies have been making their way to the gym a lot more quickly than me. And apparently, I think it was Friday when I asked him for the remote to one of the TVs. I had my earbuds in and I said it too loudly and scared him. And he gave me one of these, like I really startled him. I'm like, just give me the effing remote. So now his thing, he doesn't offer me the remote. He just turns the TV off and puts the remote away while I'm on the treadmill. Now today, because I have an early tea time, you can see the attire I'm going right directly to the gym from work.
Right.
Probably going to put MSNBC on all three TVs full blast today.
I just love it.
I might do CNN because they probably hate that even more.
Can you do 2 in 1?
I could.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. The home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Getting over it together. We'll go live to Boston tomorrow. USA, Canada. Biggest hockey game in a while. Period. Never mind in this country. I think Eruzione should be the honorary captain, if you will, for the United States, the one they bring out, whether it's to do the ceremonial dropping of the puck. I mean, they got this tournament started in Canada with Lemieux. Place went bonkers.
Then they had some other Canadians, legends. Yvon Cornway was brought out. And I think you bring out Eruzione and Jim Craig.
Both from Boston also.
Thank you.
Yep. So we're close to the anniversary, not on the actual date. You know, tomorrow will be the 20th. We beat the Russians on the 22nd. We beat Sweden on the 24th.
Finland.
Oh, that's right. We tied Sweden in the first game.
Sweden
and we beat Finland in Pelle Lindbergh 4-2. Right. So, you know, not on the actual dates, 45 years. Wow.
David, couple of texts I want to get to. First one was a little bit ago, but we were talking about the booing the anthem when we had Seth on. This person says, I'm Canadian. I hate the booing, but that did start in the U.S. before the tournament when trade talk started. No. That's inaccurate.
No.
It started before the tournament in Canadian buildings when they played the U.S. national anthem.
Correct.
That's when it started.
Right.
We all know why. But no, that did not start in the United States, sir. Secondly, we ended the last segment by saying that all sports are a television show. And this texter had a little fun. Baseball is a TV show. The NFL is a TV show. Baseball's PBS, right? Well played, sir.
That's fair. That's fair. You know, certain things are CW. Certain things are, you know, Big Fox in prime time or what have you. Sure. That's good. But that's what I'm hoping for tomorrow. You know, the Yankees have a deep bench in terms of who they're going to bring out to throw out the first pitch before big games. And to me, one of the great little tidbits about the whole Red Sox comeback against the Yankees in 2004 is that I knew how desperate the Yankees were when before Game 7 they had Bucky Dent throw out the first pitch. I went, oh my goodness, they're scared to death. They went Bucky flippin' Dent. Wow, they are terrified they are losing this sucker. And they did. But imagine, just imagine Eruzione and Jim Craig walking out on the ice.
In Boston.
Oh, my goodness. International competition. Chance of USA, USA. Oh, it'd be amazing.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. So we shall see tomorrow night, USA, Canada, for the championship of the Four Nations face-off.
Right. I mean, it's kind of a makeshift name and a makeshift tournament that they threw together. And you know what? Man, has it worked.
I went down a TikTok hole yesterday.
Uh-oh.
And started watching, and I follow Spit and Chicklets, and they've had some great interviews and, you know, a lot of fun and, you know, seeing some Gretzky stuff. But there are then now, because I've got a lot of hockey stuff on there, there are random Americans who have never watched hockey before who are making posts on USA Canada, and they're absolutely hysterical. And you're right. This game not being on ABC will cost it at least 1 million viewers.
Yeah.
Maybe more. And particularly for that non-hockey fan
Totally.
who caught part of this. And, even Rich Eisen has a national, so he said, my phone was blowing up Saturday. I'm looking down. I figure, the dunk contest is going on. No.
Well,
it was the hockey.
This is how big it was. Saturday was a monster college basketball day.
Monster.
Number 1 against number 1 in Auburn, Alabama, because one was one in the AP and the other was one in the coaches. And all sorts of top 20, 25 matchups against one another. And also a terrific day of action. And you had your 3-4 significant upsets. College basketball guy was on social media going, this is amazing. Oh, my goodness.
Not sure what's going on with StreamYard, guys, but obviously we're having issues. And I just wanted to make sure it was still working, so I did it on my phone. I'll try to get back on for the rest of the show.